Good morning. I have here one of the first models of the X2D II 100C from Hasselblad, a medium format camera that is absolutely incredible in many ways. Why do I say incredible? Because I've never shot with such a camera and the feel, the experience is very different from what I'm used to. Now, let me know right away in the comments if you're part of the team medium format. Type 1 if you've shot with medium format and type 2 if you've never shot with it, because until now, I had never really experienced it and I'm surprised. And I shot differently. First hands, what is this camera? It is handmade in Sweden. We have 100 megapixel sensor right there in 645 that is now stabilized with 10 stops. So we have 5-axis stabilization and 10 stops in this camera, which is a huge shift from what there was before. And on top of that, we have a new lens that 35 to 100 millimeter f2.8 to f4. So it's a variable aperture lens, which if you were talking in terms of full frame would be equivalent to 24 to 70 millimeter, about that. And this is the perfect lens all around that you can go with anywhere. Why? Because that focal range covers everything. 50, 70, 24, 35, the classic 35, and it's something that I absolutely love to shoot with if I don't want to overthink. And honestly, when I'm on that medium format system, the last thing I want to have is several lenses. Why? Because let's be honest, this is quite chunky, this is quite big. It takes space, but once you have it in your hand, I don't have to think about other lenses. And f2.8 on medium format does look pretty special. I'm showing you a lot of photos here that I took over those past few days for you to have an understanding, and I'm trying to show most of them completely unedited, because something that you need to know is that the Hasselblad colors are some of my favorite colors that I've seen. I've seen it through phones that were working with Hasselblads for the color science, and from my experience, just at the back of the screen, it was beautiful. We have 16 bits of color depth, and on top of that, we now have the first medium format camera that has true HDR end-to-end in camera. If you've shot with an iPhone or any Android phone that has HDR, you may have noticed that in the highlights, you get something that is very bright with a lot of information, and that is what that HDR mode is. And in this Hasselblad, we have the HDR, and it's interesting to find what I would get on my phone, but in 100 megapixel medium format quality. And it's quite an experience. Now, when you're looking at those photos on YouTube, you probably won't see it because you need the display to be able to experience it. Which brings me to a special point. When I was shooting with it, I actually prefer to look at the photos right here at the back of my screen. It's almost like my experience was different. Different how? Different in a good way, where I was enjoying what I was taking. And with my other cameras, I usually wait until I'm on my laptop. At the back of the screen, it looks okay, but I'm like, oh, it's gonna look so much better on my laptop. Now, this looks great here. The back screen is extremely bright. We also have a huge viewfinder. Also, I wanna mention the menu is incredible. I've experienced a lot of manufacturers' menu, but this is probably my favorite so far, with the big icons and being able to just like swiftly find what you want has just been so easy. I don't know why, but it's like so intuitive. The UX and UI is on point. Has that ever happened to you? You get on the field, you start taking photos, and then you realize you forgot your memory card? Well, that literally happened to me. I grabbed my camera and I went on the field and I'm like, damn it, I don't have a memory card. And then, happy surprise, there is a 1 terabyte SSD built into this camera, which meant I didn't need a memory card. Now, if you need one, it's a CF Type B memory card that goes in there. And in terms of connectivity, you have that USB-C right there with a jack next to it. I was surprised because I'm like, how am I gonna feel with a built-in memory? And it's nice because you don't have to fiddle with the memory card. You don't have to wonder which one you have, which one you don't. And I find it's also faster, which may probably be an advantage, because when you're recording 100 megapixel images, it can take time, but it probably works much faster with the SSD built in. Now, something that is brand new in this version compared to the X2D is the AFC with detection of subjects. So AFC stands for continuous autofocus, which means the camera continuously focuses while you're moving, and we now have detection of people, animals like cats and dogs, and vehicles. So what does it mean? It means that it's a lot easier to get a little bit of action shots. Now, would I go so far as saying that this is an action camera? Yes and no. It depends how you shoot. If you're relying on 120 frames per second and crazy autofocus tracking to get your shot, well, probably not. But if you're someone who is able to anticipate movements and know how things are going to move, you're going to be having an experience that is a little bit different here and probably feels a little bit nostalgic from older bodies, but yet with the modern technology. So it's something I appreciated. And honestly, the look of this camera just feels so premium. It's a handmade in Sweden, and you can feel the finish and the buttons, and I love that little orange touch right there on top. Just makes it a little special, you know, and obviously the price comes with it. It's a luxurious item, but it's a nice touch. We've seen a brand release a camera recently that didn't feel any special, and it was priced also in the luxurious category. So now when you're coupling the new autofocus continuous with the tracking, with the fact that you have phase, contrast, and LiDAR in order to help the autofocus, and the in-body stabilization that is 8 times superior to the previous version, well, you're starting to have a pretty incredible medium format camera that can do a lot. And my experience with it was, I couldn't say more surprising. Surprising how I was slower, more intentional when I was shooting with this. I don't know, there's something about the weight and the size that makes you feel like it's more important every photos you're taking, you know, than something that's just like gadget-like. This really feels like, hey, be careful, or like think about what you're doing, which is great. Honestly, I was also trying different types of composition, and you can see there's a lot of still life in the photos I took. I was playing a little bit with that. I see this camera for people who appreciate life, appreciate light, and the slower pace of being present and really taking the time to take your photo and not trying to rush, but really working on your composition, working on your story, and being very intentional in it. And that's how I would use this camera also. I wouldn't be a run and gun, shoot anything and spray and pray and hope for the best camera. What do you think? There is also a bonus that I need to mention now, and it is simply the app that allows you to remote shoot, view your photos straight from your phone. This app is called Focus by Hasselblad, and it was swift and extremely fast to review the photos and download them, which I've been surprised because I've experienced other constructors and it usually is pretty slow, but here even with 100 megapixels, it was loading the photos very fast and I could review them, and you can also edit them straight in there, and it supports the HDR. So if you're on your iPhone, you can, or even an iPad, you can edit with your HDR right in there and see the result straight in camera. A great addition for anyone who is on the field or on a trip and doesn't want to take his laptop with him. Now I will tell you, there's a reason also I don't want to change lens. It is because the button to unlock the lens is on this side, and that means I'm holding my camera like this, and it makes the back screen extremely dirty every time I do it. And I just wish that button was actually the button to release the lens. This is a custom button that you can use for anything else. I actually set it for something I love, which is changing the crop. So I like to go in pan, expand. I was surprised, and I really love to play with that crop. Now, honestly, I would have preferred to have the lens release here and another button maybe a little higher on the other side. But because it's just I'm used to press here and unlock the lens, so now I need to switch my hand from the side of the camera and place it on the other hand. It's a little wink on the design, and look at this. We also have that tail screen I was using, beautiful to compose lower to the ground or in places where you can't really see too much. It always makes it easier. And honestly, every camera should have that nowadays. And I want to say one last thing on the design. It just feels smooth. It feels good. The grip is great. How it handles is great. My one finger test works even with a big lens and all that. And we have a little bit joystick here that helps move the focus point. But honestly, I could tap it anywhere and then remove it with that joystick. Voila, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and while you're at it, grab my free photography cheat sheet that will give you the settings that I use the most on the field, and watch this video to learn everything about your autofocus. Watch this one to avoid the 3 mistakes beginners make, and get out there, go shoot, try something different, try something new. I'll see you in the next one. Maybe you don't need a new camera, maybe you just need to get out there more.